My name is Nikhil Handigol. I'm a co-founder of Forward Networks, and I'm going to wrap it all up with some closing thoughts. Right? So let's recap what we saw today. So what we saw today was a week in the life of a network operator. We saw the kinds of tasks a network operator has to routinely perform, from answering questions after a breach to dealing with a field notice to debugging a performance issue to service migration to change windows. And these tasks span a whole bunch of areas. There was a question whether we are security focused. These tasks span a whole bunch of areas: security, audit, performance, change management, all of these. So I hope the presentations today gave you a sense of the variety of challenges that a network operator has to deal with and how daunting each of these challenges can be. And I hope we were able to show you how Forward Enterprise can help overcome these challenges quickly and easily. But I want to take a step back and briefly touch upon what makes all of this possible. Back when we started Forward Networks, we wanted to bring the best ideas of computer science to the field of networking. And the approach that we took was based on modeling. At the heart of Forward Enterprise is a behavioral or a mathematical model of the network, or sometimes we refer to this as a digital twin of the network. With this model, we are able to reason about every possible way in which any packet can be forwarded by the network. But I want to double click on that briefly and talk about the aspects of the underlying technology that make this mathematical model truly unique and truly applicable to modern enterprises. The first aspect is heterogeneity. Modern networks are heterogeneous, right? So the mathematical model needs to support it all. In the demo networks that we saw today, we saw networks spanning a whole bunch of vendors like Cisco, Arista, Juniper, F5, Palo Alto, so on and so forth, and a whole bunch of technologies: BGP, OSPF, MPLS, VXLAN, public cloud, private cloud, everything. The second aspect is scalability. We have seen network sizes range from thousands to tens of thousands of devices. So the model needs to scale to those kind of sizes. And while the demos today were intentionally scaled down for demo purposes, of course, a single instance of Forward can model networks of more than 10,000 devices in less than an hour. As an example, as a concrete example, one of our biggest deployments at Goldman Sachs models 15,000 network devices. And the third aspect is accuracy. We want this mathematical model to be the single source of truth, the single source of trust that the operators can use to confidently operate the network. So it better be correct, right? And to that end, we constantly test our models on live network devices in our labs 24/7. Now, I can go very deep into each of these topics, but they would be full-fledged NFD talks on their own. So perhaps we'll leave the details of this for a future date. Now, on the front end, we need to expose the capability of this mathematical model in a consumable and user-friendly way so that the network operators can actually make use of those. So today, we saw a handful of applications built on top of this mathematical model. We saw advanced path analysis that can span both overlays and underlays. We saw a network query engine, which you can use to query your network like a database. We saw an intuitive GUI, which hides most of the underlying complexity and heterogeneity. And of course, scalable APIs, which you can use to integrate the data from the mathematical model with the rest of your ecosystem and tools. Now, every single one of these is inspired by how our customers have sought to leverage the power of this mathematical model to solve their problems. Now, why am I telling you all this? Right? The reason I'm focusing on this is because this is the kind of technology that enables you to solve problems like this. And this is what drives our engineering and product teams at Forward, to make network operations easier, faster, and better. And ultimately, what drives us is empathy for the network operator and appreciation for the complexity of operating a modern enterprise network. So in the coming days, we will continue to work with our customers. We'll take on more challenges and solve them, and we'll share those stories with the rest of the community.
It's a very nice tool. Just one feedback in future in your roadmap also, if you can look for sort of wizards basically to guided, because I see that you still need a skill, basically, someone who is doing troubleshooting, basically. So guide him with some, steps, basically, to help him, do the, analysis. That could be something.
Absolutely, I think that's a wonderful point. Point absolutely taken. And I just want to add a little bit of anecdote to what you said. So the UI that you saw today, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it looked very different, right? And this is something that we always, like our product team, our UX team always has this conversation with our customers, and it's constantly evolving. And I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, but as it stands today, it's perfect. It's nothing wrong. But you can always improve on things.
I can guarantee you that it's not perfect, and like we'll continue improving.
Okay,
Thanks.
Great.
I'm just wondering how much of an understanding of the underlay that you have. You have firewalls, you have routers, you have switches, and everything like that. What about more complex fabrics coming out? SDN, cloud providers, and everything like that.
Yeah. Great question. I can add again. So 2 pieces to the answer. So one, the good news is our internal model itself is vendor and technology agnostic. The mathematical model that I spoke about, it's device behavior and packets. So we have a completely vendor agnostic and technology agnostic way of modeling the behaviors of the networks. So adding support for other elements is a matter of adding those adapters that can talk to those devices, pull in the configuration and state, and map it back to the mathematical model.
Right.
And to that end, we do actually support some of these newer SDN elements. So we have support for OpenFlow devices. We have added support for Cisco ACI. So these are some of the newer technologies that we already support. And of course, there are technologies out there that we don't support today, but that's something that we constantly, the support base is constantly growing.
On the config diff aspect that you do, is that something that is easily exported to put into a change database?
Yeah, most of the elements that you saw today, I think some of the key elements, especially the NQE report, for example, and the configuration, all of that is exportable in appropriate forms. So the topology is exportable in the form of a Visio diagram. Most of the reports that you saw in tabular form is exportable in the form of a spreadsheet. So yeah, so we do export that, we do support that, so that you can. That's absolutely the point. Of course, you can share a link to the UI, but what if the receiving end doesn't have an account on Forward Enterprise, right? So we make all the data exportable both via APIs and via specific mechanisms like spreadsheets or Visio diagrams to include them in your reports.